Assalamu alaikum friends. Mukhammadali is the first person in Uzbekistan to have band 9 score.
My name is Mukhammadali Sodikov.
When did you start focusing on English only?
I work as an IELTS teacher.
Popular back then was like two results came out at the same day, right?
So that's 19 attempts exactly.
Okay, how people around you reacted for the first time. Our knowledge base, our foundation is quite strong. Assalamu alaikum friends, good afternoon, good morning, good evening or good night depending on the time you are watching the video, okay? So today on our show, or we can say in the 10th, is it?
Episode. Yes,
Episode, yeah.
episode.
In the 10th episode of our academic podcast, we have invited my friend Mukhammadali. So, can you introduce yourself a bit, Mukhammadali?
Yeah, sure, totally. Thanks for inviting me to your podcast. I'm really honored. I feel great to be here today, and I'm excited to be talking to you today. So, as for me, my name is Mukhammadali Sodikov. I work as an IELTS teacher in Bukhara, and I've been working on and off for 6-7 years now. I also run a school with my friend Alisher at Astra School. You can look it up on social media. I do part-time podcasting at Astra Muse, and hope you guys will put the link to our podcast in the description box below if you guys want to go and check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, Mukhammadali is the first person in Uzbekistan to have band 9 score. It's for some people it's a bit disputable, but we don't care about that. The important thing is he actually put the target and reached the top. And he has been the first person to do that. Well, actually, these days, there are up to 40, I guess, right? 40 candidates having this result, but still having the first mover's advantage has been, given to him, actually. So let's start off a show then, Mukhammadali. So what has been the main goal or what has been the main motivation behind getting 9?
I did it for a very practical reason. It was not a personal ambition. It was more of a business strategy me and my friend had in mind when we had set up our school. We knew we needed some kind of marketing tool strategy to put our school on the map. And we thought of no better strategy than getting the highest score on the IELTS test, because we knew it was going to get us a lot of traction on social media, which it did. And yeah, that was one of the main reasons why I was after 9 this whole time. And the other reason why I was doing it is just for fun. Getting 9 was not really my intention every time I set the test, because like when you go into the exam room wanting to get a 9, odds are you're not gonna get a 9, because it really takes away, it really eats away at your focus that you need to be able to solve the questions right, that you need to be able to write a good essay, that you need to be able to produce coherent speech. So when you walk in there, you're gonna want to do your best, not really think about getting a 9. But long story short, we wanted to get a 9 because we thought it was going to serve as a great marketing tool, and it did. Yeah.
So actually it worked better than you thought, I guess, because the main reason why it became so popular back then was like two results came out at the same day, right? It kind of split the country into two, supporting the one of you on the one side and supporting the other of you on the other side. So it was so great competition. First of all, with what was his name?
Mr. Begzad.
Mr. Begzad, yeah,
was
Mr.
the other
Begzad,
person.
actually.
Was the other person to get 9?
Yeah,
To be one of the first Niners. Yeah.
Well, actually, a lot of other guys came after you and wanted to have the same kind of story like you. But these days, I actually follow them. And most of those guys having 9 are not having the same kind of story, like kind of fairy tale. So what do you think? What is now important for them to have the same kind of share in the market?
Well, that's something that never really crossed my mind. So it's a really two-part question. So let me answer first part first, and then the other one. So your first question is like why people don't make a big deal out of nine anymore, because humans it might sound somewhat of a philosophy, but it indeed is true. People are really good at normalizing things. Like once what was thought impossible, once it becomes possible, people don't care much about it anymore. So it loses its element of intrigue. It loses its element of excitement. Just as like when you're a kid, before you learn how to ride a bike, you're really excited about bikes. But once you get the hang of it, it's not of any interest to you anymore. So I guess that explains why getting nine is irrelevant these days. But it does not take away anything from their achievement. It still is an incredible feat. As a language tutor, English tutor, it really helps if you have this band score on your record. And all the teachers out there retaking the test, wanting to step up their game, I think 9 is a good target. You should keep going after it, until finally you get it. As for getting becoming lucrative as a business, my tip would be, I've given this tip a few times before, many times on the podcast. You can be doing the same thing everyone else is doing and still be successful. All you have to do is to do it 10 times better than everyone else. And that was our philosophy starting out when we set up our school. We weren't really worried about Bukhara market or the Uzbekistan market, for that matter, being saturated because of the abundance of IELTS tutors. But we just thought to ourselves, okay, sure, all those people can be doing their job. We can be doing our jobs. If we just do it better and set better standards, strive for excellence, it's natural that you're going to just stand out from everyone else over time. Yeah. So you just got to do it patiently.
So I know, like I've heard and I've talked with you actually lots of times that you have given up a lot to achieve this feat, right? So when did you start focusing on English only, just neglecting other language, speaking in Russian, Tajik, or Uzbek? And when did it exactly start?
Okay. I think it traces back to when I was probably like 17, when I had just got into university. When I was in university, I needed a job. So the only thing I could do at the time was, aside from cooking, was teaching. Teaching people English. So I went looking for a job, and I found one. I did land the job, but I was the catch was that I was assigned Russian students, and I didn't know Russian at the time, and they didn't know Uzbek. So our only common language was English. So I thought to myself, okay, if I just speak English, I'm going to be fine. And it just stuck with me ever since.
Did the center belong to Mirjalol?
Yes, it's direct study. I'm not sure if he's still. I don't think it's operational anymore because he moved back here. He settled down.
Mirjalol is working here now.
Yeah, great.
Okay, so it started back in
2017, and I've been speaking consistently English ever since. And sometimes people think I do it on principle. I really don't. You don't want to hear me speaking. You don't want to hear me speaking Tajik, Uzbek, or Russian because I'm so terrible at them. So the other day I was talking to, I had a guest on the podcast. We haven't yet released a teaser. It's a big name from Tashkent. They're involved in SAT, and they brought with them their brother to accompany them. And so their brother obviously couldn't speak English, and they could though. And we had the podcast, and then I finally got to meet their brother, and to talk to him, I had to speak, Uzbek. And when I started speaking Uzbek, they could not believe it. They were like, that does not sound Uzbek at all, right?
Did you speak actually?
Oh yeah, a little, yeah. Of course. I mean, I talked to my dad in Uzbek, my mom in Tajik, but our conversations are pretty short.
I see. Because I said like you kind of made a promise to stop speaking in those languages.
Well, how do you guys exactly think I talk to my parents, right? They don't know English, obviously. So,
I see.
yeah, I got to be able to. I mean, I live in a
Yeah.
city where people predominantly speak non-English languages, languages that are not English.
Sometimes you catch taxi, right?
No, I got my own ride.
Ah,
I got my own car. Yeah.
well, in fact, like you go into shopping somewhere,
Oh,
you have to.
my shopping experiences. Well, I have memorized lines. Like they really come in handy. Like when you say hi, bye, or I really like it. Thank you for your help. So like in intermediate level English learners, when they know simple expressions and phrases, that's how it works with me in Tajik. The only trouble I have is like when I'm trying to produce complex speech, where I have to explain where I'm coming from for a particular choice or decision. Say, we're making this move, so let's do that, let's do this. I can't really do that in Tajik because I lack the vocabulary. Same goes for Uzbek. Lack the vocabulary and syntax to be able to, sequence the words right to produce a coherent speech. So I just stick to English.
Okay, how people around you reacted for the first time?
I think it felt
Quite normal.
quite normal because I was surrounded by my friends who all knew English. So I had that privilege, thankfully. As for, I made a gradual transition, right? It wasn't an overnight change, if that's what people are thinking. Because it really can't be. Like, you start with your like smaller circle and then you sort of push that further. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And it really helps when you work at an English school like I do. So where just about everyone speaks English. Our receptionists know English. Our printer guys know English. Our media guys know English. Yeah. In fact, most of them are our ex-students.
Okay, great. So because when suddenly a person changes the language into a different one, and it's normal for people to show some reactions, kind of. Why have you started speaking English only? Why have you started just stopping? And I guess your priority somehow was having this circle of friends, I guess, because I know not all, but actually most of those guys just being friends with you, right? Well, one of them is Jahangir, one of them is Alisher. There was Dostan, I guess, was your friend.
Yeah.
So Dostan and all of you were quite successful in your results, in your English. And well, I guess that also has been one of the deciding factors in making you kind of achieve such a feat. Well, what was the most difficult part of it? Didn't you feel kind of changing your personality or privacy kind of when you start speaking English only? Didn't you feel like you have become a different person?
On the one hand, it felt just fine because I had, growing up, I watched a lot of American movies, Hollywood movies, so it felt pretty normal to me. Like, it was like, I felt much more secure when speaking English. I still do because I thought I could express myself better than I could in Uzbek and Russian because I hadn't simply read enough literature in those languages. I could, but when I was in fifth, seventh grade, in fifth, sixth, seventh grade, secondary school, like before high school, I was really good at Uzbek, I guess, because I used to read a lot of literature. So that's the thing about language, like you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
You gotta be practicing constantly. So even if it's your native language, if you're not speaking it, you might kiss it goodbye, right? And on the other hand, I felt very conflicted internally inside because I was trying to find like a common ground between my own cultural values and theirs, like foreign cultural values. I did have a few misunderstandings with the close people who are very close to me, like my parents, my friends, It was not a smooth ride. That I can tell you for sure, right? But at the end, what matters is I now feel like I found where I belong. That people have accepted me. Thankfully, my parents have accepted me the way I am. I don't talk much, and they're totally fine with that. Yeah, and same with my friends. They get it. They totally get it now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So every product has a life cycle, right? Well, development starting from introduction stage to development stage, and then maturity, and then decline. Okay. So when we started learning IELTS, it was in introductory stage. Like we didn't have much knowledge or much understanding about how the test would look like. We didn't have materials to prepare for, and the questions were quite easy for speaking, but still we didn't have much understanding about how to work with them. And then when your kind of generation started preparing, it was in kind of a development stage. And do you think now IELTS has come to maturity, or is it still developing in terms of popularity, in terms of importance? Well, the next question will be next.
So with the IELTS, it's it really depends on who you are. If you are a student, IELTS is still new. Like it's as new as it's as new as AI. Like AI is a recent thing. So if you've just been introduced to the English community, the IELTS community, then it's a new product. But if you're a teacher like us, then you think this IELTS has had its days, right? And it's become cliche, sort of, right? Because you are constantly in that environment. When the reality is, IELTS has been around for a very, very, very long time. Well, very much like the SAT test.
Yeah.
It's just a new thing, maybe in our country. But like, if you were to like zoom out and look at the bigger picture, IELTS is just a standardized test.
Yeah.
It's very much like a final exam you sit at school.
Yeah.
There's more to it, honestly, right? So that's one of the realizations I came to last year, or I don't remember exactly when it was, is just realized how small of a community we are. As much as we'd like to think it is big, it's really small. Now that I'm having podcasts and talking to people from different walks of life, I had someone from, I have a lot of people from the SAT community. I had a lot of people from the college application community. I had teachers working at university. I had people working at my friend at logistics firm, trucking firm. I've been, thanks to this podcast I'm running, I've really expanded my network of people to include those from non-English backgrounds, and that has really made me understand how small of a community we are. So, and I try not to get hung up on that. I try to set goals outside the IELTS community, so as to not just to diversify the products we have at our school, at our company, but also to like mentally and intellectually push myself in trying to become a more well-rounded individual. So yeah, to answer your question, IELTS is new, old, or not that new thing, depending on who you are. Yeah, and which environment you're in.
Yeah, from which angle you look at it, right?
Yes, sir.
So, and what about SAT? Is it coming out to be as popular as IELTS, or do you think there will be certain kind of limitations in its popularity?
So the answer to that question, it depends on us, the educators. If we can make it a thing, it will become a thing, just as IELTS. It became a thing because we made it a thing by making so much hype around it, getting 9. And now that there are people getting the perfect score on the SAT, like Mr. Parviz Tuksanov, it's starting to become a thing because he's making it a thing, or because we're trying to make it a thing. So It's a very simple concept in business. If there is no demand, you create it, right? That's what companies do. Like it. Okay, the example I'm about to give might sound a little. I'm not sure how relevant it is to this conversation, but like drug manufacturers,
Yeah,
that
sure.
there is not always demand for their drugs. So if there isn't, they just
They just create a virus.
exactly. They leak a virus and say, "Here's the vaccine,
Yeah.
come and get it." But that's not say that's what we're doing here. It's what's really happening. It was a really bad example, I guess. What's really happening here is now the people's perspectives and their now that people's perspectives and their purchasing power are changing for the better. Like people can make more, and people now trying to become more open-minded. They are setting their eyes on higher targets. Like before, if a student wanted to get into a local university or international universities in Tashkent, now they want to go to the US. After a generation, they're going to want to go to Ivy League schools, which is a whole different level. So, and that's actually a sign that we're headed in the right direction, that we are raising the bar.
So
every time we do
that's
something.
a sign that the community as a whole is developing in terms of understanding that knowledge is important, because SAT contains math within itself. So if we improve the SAT market here in Uzbekistan, then it means not one subject but actually two subjects are rising here simultaneously, so that people are having double advantage in terms of having knowledge, right? So what should be the next point, next step? Well, like we have Olympiads of subjects, and guys winning the first, second, third stage, and Uzbekistan coming on top of the list in most of the charts. But still, the industry overall is not that much compatible with those countries, with China, for example, with the United States, or with some developed countries. It's normal that we are not as rich as them. But actually, our knowledge base, our foundation is quite strong. Why doesn't it work properly? Why, for example, people who are excellent at math, physics, chemistry, and other subjects are not investing their knowledge in creating better future? Why aren't they bringing all the knowledge at the same point and making an impact?
So your question is like how this.
Why we don't?
First off, I don't really think our education. I mean, that's a given. That's obvious. Our education system is on par with international standards. Yes, that's for sure. And the question of how we get there, we need to, like some schools already have done, we need to start adopting some of their curriculum. Like at presidential school, they teach the Cambridge standard. They have what they call
STEM subjects.
Yeah, STEM subjects, but actually there was another word for it. It just slipped my mind. And they have what they call AP exams, like in the US, advanced placement tests, which is the place students go, which is the thing students do once they get their SAT. Like if they want to get into big schools, they need to do subjects or tests that show those universities that they are academically prepared for the university requirements, for their university requirements. So I think the way to go would be to adapt some of those curriculums, some of those standards. And I see some schools already doing, a lot of schools actually in Tashkent doing that. They have Tashkent and in Samarkand. I heard there's a center called the Innovative Test Center where you can take the AP exams. Like it's like a step after SAT. And I think this would be one way we could sort of catch up with the international education standards. The other thing, people not being able to translate their knowledge into the real world results, practical results. I think it's It is actually happening. We're just not aware of it, because usually change happens very gradually and slowly. Like it's been like ever since we started this thing, it's been barely a decade, right? Decade, a little over a decade maybe, right? Which is in the grand scheme of things is a small time period. If you look back 100 years from now at this period, and you realize the impact of the true scale of the change, just as when we look back at Renaissance and Europe, we realize how big of an impact all those genius people made in terms of science and art and humanities. Or our ancestors. Like at the time, though, they didn't realize they were part of that movement. They just did it.
Yeah,
and then that's what's happening here. We're just trying to every day, show up and do better than we did before. And as long as we keep doing it, I'm sure, I hope the outcome is going to be positive.
I see. So, and still, it's going to work in certain kind of fields, right? Well, what are your future perspectives? Are you planning to stay as teacher for a longer period of time, or are you trying to just test yourself in other fields, in science, for example?
Well, that's a great question. Life is all about growth. I think once you get really good at something, you don't want to get too stuck with it. You really need to move on and take on new skills, new challenges. Set new goals, new targets. Right? Because otherwise you're just getting old. There's an interesting quote from movie Kung Fu Panda, you guys, and it's an animated movie, you guys, if you have ever seen it, and the master says, and not the panda, but the master says, if you keep doing what you are good at, you're never going to be more than who you are. Right? So if you want to be more than who you are, if you want to rediscover yourself, push the boundaries of your intellectual limits, intellectual, spiritual, physical, then you have to be trying new things. But you have to do it in the right fashion, I believe, and that is to get really good at one craft and then pick up another one, as opposed to what most people do, juggling different balls and
failing in all of them.
Yeah, failing or ending up mediocre at all. Right.
So don't you think this is also a reason why a lot of people are failing? Like they are jumping from one field to another without actually completing all the difficulties of the first one.
Yeah, it is. I believe that one of the main problems with our generation. I mean, I'm saying our generation. I'm not really sure if it was. Why would I be saying it? My generation, our generation. I'm not sure if it's just our generation or it's always been the case with us humans. We want instant results, quick results. That is in contradiction with what the reality of things, which is results usually take time. Good results take time. So I think people should be more patient and focused on the things they're doing and not chase instant results, instant gratification. I think it's more common now than ever because of the internet and social media, where we're being shown all these rich and successful people who become millionaires overnight, trading stock or buying some property, real estate, and then start selling courses, content. So we're like being brainwashed that yes, you can become successful overnight, when in reality it takes a lot of time.
If you just follow my lessons, if you come my course, 10 lessons, you become a different person, right? just I wanted to ask.
Yeah, take your time. Take your time. Sometimes questions don't come right away.
No, it's just on tip of my tongue. Well, we're talking about success. Yeah. Well, yeah. What is one quality that takes a person to the target, to the dream he's chasing after? In your calculations.
My I haven't really. It's never like one particular trait that.
But the main one, there should be main
that
one.
can be attributed to success. It really differs from person to person, and we can be successful in our own ways, as opposed to chasing someone else's definition or model of success, right? So. First, you might want to get clear on what you consider to be successful, not what society considers successful, right? Because if you chase what everyone else chases, odds are you're going to end up miserable. So get clear on what you really want in life, not what your parents want, or not what your friends want or what they're after, not what your neighbors want, not what your teachers want, but what is it that really excites you, that makes you want to get up in the morning and do, right? Aside from all those hedonistic goals, like pleasure-related goals, because they are sometimes misleading. They're not the right signs. So things that you have, passion for. Sometimes even if you don't have passion, you tell yourself to do it for a long enough period to fall in love with it. And once you get clear on that, be diligent, consistent, and just chase it relentlessly. So I just use these. I use these three adjectives for a reason. I said diligent, working hard, and when you say work hard, it's like even if it doesn't feel comfortable to do it, you have to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Right, and that's where because if it was easy, everyone could become successful, right? And the other one is consistency aspect. Is where you have to do it day in and day out, day in and day out, day in and day out. No matter how mundane and painful it can be sometimes, you just got to show up. And in fact, when you're consistent, you're naturally outwork everyone else who's doing the same thing, but doing it less consistently, right? And like this, podcast thing we're doing, I don't think our podcast is, people say it's one of the first English podcasts in Uzbekistan, but it's not the best quality of podcast. But I'm not really thinking about that, though. What I tell to myself, well, maybe it's not the best quality podcast today, but in 10 years' time, maybe in 20 years' time, maybe in 30 years' time, we'll get there, right? So consistency is important. You got to show up and get the job done, even if you don't feel like it. Like this morning, you got up. Maybe you weren't in the best mood to shoot this podcast, but you showed up anyway because you made a promise, right? It just as I woke up this morning and I had an emergency and I could just give you a call and said, no, can we just reschedule or call it off? But I didn't because I made a promise. So you say you show up, you got to show up. And last but not least, relentless. Being relentless means not giving up, even if it gets hard. Like I'm not going to quit until it's over. It sounds kind of cliche because you hear it always on social media, but it really is true. If you look at all those successful leaders out there, you see that they're very sort of maniacal in their pursuit of their goals and their dreams to the point people think they're out of their minds. Yeah.
So what about business? Well, today a lot of these coaches pretending to be the best one in their fields, and they pretend to say like business should be controlled, and if you go and do the job yourself, this is not business, they say. And what's your viewpoint on it?
So like when you say
can the business be like this inclusion of the investor, for example, you are the founder of the business and you also get engaged in it, or is the business the one in which you stand out and make people do the job?
It depends on like a bunch of different things, like your role within the company. If you're just an investor, then you don't need to be involved. You just give them the initial money they need to get the business off the ground, and just pocket the revenue, the income. So and you don't need to be obviously involved much unless you want to be involved yourself. But if you want to be part of the business and you want to, you have your vision of where you wanted it to be, then you need to get on the ground and get your hands dirty and try to be involved in as many parts of the business as possible. Like with me, when I'm at work, I am everyone. I'm not a principal. I can be a printer guy. I can be a janitor. I can be a receptionist. I can not a receptionist though. I can't talk to people. I might be able to do some bookkeeping, but not talk to people, customers who come in. And I can be a teacher. I can be media guy. I can be podcast editor, podcast host. I can be construction worker. I can be I can be interior designer if there's renovation work that needs to be done. So you really have to have your fingers on different things when you want your business to be the way you want it to be, right? Because people are never going to be able to do things the way you want them to be done, like your level of, your standard of excellence. So if you want X, people not gonna be able to get that exact X. So, but at the same time, there's a point where you should understand you can't be like spreading yourself too thin, like being too involved in everything and micro managing, because one, it's gonna burn you out. Two, one is gonna burn you out. The other one, so to spread yourself thin burns you out. And the other one, micromanage, it's going to be frustrating. It frustrates the hell out of people.
Yeah.
It really is annoying when you're just breathing down your teacher's neck and telling them you need to teach this grammar concept with this on the board, doing this and doing that. Give them some training and give them some guidance and just give them some space to do the things they want to do. So yeah, going back to your question, sorry, I got a little off topic, I guess. So going back to your question, it depends on your expectations. It depends on your availability. It depends on your on what you want out of this deal, right? But I think as an entrepreneur, I don't want to use the word businessman because I think it has negative connotation. As an entrepreneur, whom I consider to be a problem solver and a very hardworking individual, you should be comfortable being a jack of all trades, being able to do different things, and knowing where to be involved when. Right, where to be involved when.
Okay, do you remember the most interesting event in any one of your classes? As a student, as a teacher, it doesn't matter.
I mean,
the one you remember the best.
I think it's
most interesting event.
All events like had some sort of significance in my life in shaping who I am and the person that I've become. It's really hard to pick one because I try to make the most of every moment I have with people. At least I've been trying to do it for a while now. So I can't really pick any. It's like so when you single out one moment in your life, you'd be saying that other moments in your life aren't as significant, which is not true. Every second is precious, no matter how awful, no matter how exciting or sad it is.
No, but in terms of being funny.
Funny. I try. Funny or fun?
Yeah.
You want it to be.
Just doesn't matter. Just something that's
sticks out in my mind.
Out of normal, yeah.
Out of normal
event that actually stays in your brain, and when you remember it, it just draws a smile on your face and kind of brings some good memories into your mind.
I can't really think of any off the top of my head right now, because like the way my brain works is you know how a computer works? It has internal storage and it has RAM, random access memory. Yeah. So all those memories, you're asking me, They're stored in random access memory. They're in RAM part, and I need time to pull it back. Yeah, because it can't be on my like hard drive in the main storage part, because I need that space to solve new problems.
Yeah.
Like I can't be thinking about the past and be doing a good job here right now. So I mean, I try to have fun with my students. I mean, yesterday I had a lot of fun teaching a reading class where where I told students who are 6.5 level in 3-4 weeks time they could get to 9 level conceivably, and that was a guarantee. And I explained to them very clearly how to do that. And when they heard it, I think they were very convinced, and I believe it's possible. So if you're interested, what it is. So when it comes to like the reading test, first thing I told them was, reading is the easiest module of IELTS, the easiest, and I'll explain why. So when you look at other modules of IELTS, like listening, speaking, writing, where you have to multitask, it's like listening, you listen, write, and read at the same time. Speaking, you have to think, talk, and behave in front of a person. So that's, again, multitasking. And with the third one, writing, you need to think and write. And there's also grammar. You have to think of vocabulary. You have to think of ideas. So there's a lot of it's very mentally demanding. But with reading, all you got to do is to sit and read what's on paper, what's right there. You don't have to put in much mental effort compared to other modules. So that makes reading the easiest. And there are only a couple of things you need to work on to get better at reading. One is vocabulary. Obviously, it's a word game. And the second one is deductive thinking, inference-based thinking, where you read two sentences and see how they're connected. Like, so, or three or more sentences. And that's the part where most students fail, that they just read, interpret, but they don't look at the connection. So once you get good at these two, you're set.
Everything's great, right?
Yeah.
So I remember we had a speaking class. Well, I was just a student by then. It was about 15 years ago, but somehow I still remember it, because when I explained speaking strategies to my students, and so that is a point that I quickly remember. Our teacher was explaining about emotions, using kind of emotions in speech, and she said, when you ask certain kind of questions, try to show reflection to the question. And that reflection that she said was, oh, that's an interesting question. Kind of these kind of emotions. And we had a guy, abnormal guy actually, and we started at the interview, and then we had a couple of students first, and then he came onto the stage in front of the teacher. And when the teacher gave the first question, can you introduce yourself? Well, the question was, what's your name? What's your name? The teacher said, and the guy says, oh, that's interesting question. We all just felt shocked in the beginning, because it was kind of unusual stuff. But the funny thing was that guy actually never talked or smiled normally, with us. But that emotion, that artificial emotion, showed me that exaggeration in speaking actually works against you, and it decreases instead of increasing your result. And what's your viewpoint about emotions? How should we control them, and how much effort kind of must be allocated on it?
So
using emotions.
So the thing you're talking about is called tonality. They refer to it as tonality. Is a tone in which you speak. So there are different kinds of tones. There is sad tone, happy tone, neutral tone. There is interested tone. There is indifferent tone when you're not interested. And yes, it really helps when your tone matches the content of your speech. Why? Because it shows the people you're talking to, you're aware of the things you're saying. It goes to show what I call language awareness. Like not just you don't just understand the language, but also aware of it and very good at, very experienced user, because that's what expert users of language do, that their reaction matches the word they are saying. For example, when they say, I'm not really interested, they give this wink, kind of left eye wink. I'm not really interested. You see, that kind of goes to show that they understand what the word not interested means, and it gives more context.
But
using this.
I'm not interested in it. That would be wrong.
Well,
right?
it's not necessarily wrong either, because people react differently. Well, and but there are general, not rules, but general sort of reactions common expressions you would expect. Not expressions, expressions. Yes, common expressions, facial expressions you would see when people say certain words, like when they say mind-blowing, they usually go like, that's mind-blowing, like that, you see. But it doesn't necessarily mean you should make the same reaction, but it helps if you do. Or when they say, when they say the word, it was so sad, their tone usually fades away.
Yeah.
It was like, you don't say, it was so sad. You say, it was so sad. It was so sad. There should be like a fade out effect. They have done a video editing. There's like fade in and fade out.
So that's
like
called,
fade out.
in communication, that's called nonverbal communication, right?
Yes, sir.
Nonverbal cues or something like that. There was a term used to describe it.
Yeah, you named the right term. It's the right term, nonverbal.
Well, how do you manage stress? Do you actually have it?
Do I feel stressed out? Yes, stress is a not uncommon thing when you're deal with a lot of people, when you have a lot of responsibilities. That might make you feel overwhelmed. I do feel overwhelmed every now and then, and whenever I do, I just take a step back and tell myself, what do I tell myself? Well, I mean, at this point, I don't actually realize I'm stressed out, because I think I'm stressed out quite often. In fact, like when I did blood test a few weeks ago in Tashkent, my cortisol levels turned out to be off the charts. Cortisol is the hormone associated with stress. Right?
180? 180?
No, not 180. They use the baseline. They use the range of like 10 to 50. Mine was 64. It was like off the chart. Yeah, it was red. It was marked red. So like when they looked at my hormones, cortisol was absolutely off. Was off the roof, through the roof.
Do you get really stressed quickly?
Well, I try not to get stressed quickly. I try to keep my cool. But there are times. So first you need to understand what stress is. Stress is the body's reaction to being in an unfamiliar situation. It's a natural human response, and I don't think it should be regarded as a negative thing. In fact, stress is what keeps you alive. Like when you are crossing the road, when you see a speeding car, right? It's because of the stress factor that you run away, or you just try to get to the other end of the road fast. Because if you didn't have that stress factor, you just stand there like crazy. or in the wild, when you see a tiger, you freak out, you stress out, right? And that thing makes you want to climb up a tree, or find refuge somewhere. But too much stress, obviously bad for your health, and I've used different strategies over the years to manage my stress levels, and I tried exercise. Exercise does help. I still do it. Good sleep is a game changer. Good night's sleep, and but I think the by far the most useful thing I have is new perspectives I've gained about what life is. Like, I think stress is work-related stress is the product of lacking mental resources, like mental energy, knowledge, experience, and competence to be able to deal with a new situation. So when I'm stressed out, I just take a step back and tell myself, I'm maybe not smart enough to solve this situation, so I should go and get some knowledge. Or maybe I don't have enough experience, so maybe I should go and talk to someone more experienced or find someone experienced online. So, and realizing that really helps to take the edge off and make you feel less on edge, less stressful. So it's natural that this is happening. If I'm freaking out because of the situation, that means I'm simply not prepared for it. So let's get prepared for it. And how can I get prepared for it? Right. So trying to contain that stress with that perspective, with that understanding, is what I really do. So, I mean, think about it. Do you ever get stressed out about brushing your teeth in the morning? No, not really. It's your second nature. You know how to do it. You know how to do it so well that you don't even think about it. You don't even realize you're doing it. So, and I try to get to the same level of experience and understanding with the problem I'm facing, so that stress completely vanishes. So that's the kind of the mental framework that I use to go about stressful situations. I'm just not smart enough, not experienced enough to deal with it, because if I was, I wouldn't be stressing out. So let's go and get that knowledge. Let's go and get that experience.
How much role the luck plays in achieving success?
How much role does luck play in achieving success? I mean, luck depends on what you call luck. Luck is when opportunity meets preparation. So
opportunity meets
preparation. Someone said it. I'm not smart enough to come up with lines like that on the spot, guys. Okay. I'm just borrowing people's lines. I've read it somewhere, and it's so spot on. Luck is when opportunity meets preparation. So like your entire life, you spend preparing, and eventually your time comes. So if you haven't gotten what you want, despite the fact that you've been doing it for a long time, you just should be patient. So you are prepared, but that opportunity hasn't presented itself. And there are some people who don't want to wait for that opportunity and create that opportunity. And that mental framework also works. That's the framework I used to have before, where I didn't wait for the right opportunity to arise. So I made the opportunities come out, yes, available. So with luck, I think we're all lucky. Everyone in this room is lucky. Everyone watching this podcast is right. You're lucky enough to have eyes or to have vision to be watching this podcast. You're lucky enough to have hearing, to be able to hear what I'm saying. You're lucky enough to make sense of the things I'm saying. You have that level of intellect to be able to discern my speech or our speech or our interaction. If you have that, you are way luckier than a lot of people out there who don't have these senses. So, yeah.
Well, there is a saying, the more you know, the more stressful you become. How far do you agree with that?
Well, it depends on what this knowledge is, because there's different kinds of knowledge. There's bad knowledge and there's good knowledge. Or, let me say good knowledge and bad knowledge. You start with the good, not the bad. So good knowledge. Good knowledge is the kind of knowledge that helps advance our race, humanity, that helps other people. It's the kind of knowledge that pulls people out of the dark they're in. It's like absence of knowledge is darkness. Is fear. That's what it is. Because if you think about it, a lot of the conflicts and problems in the world arise from lacking that knowledge. And so people make bad decisions because they're worried. That worry comes for lacking knowledge, for not knowing how something works. For example, 200-300 years ago, when we didn't have, when we didn't have, not maybe 200-300 years ago, maybe 1,000 years ago, when people didn't know, say, So one example I could think of, I just need a moment. So 1,000 years ago, when people didn't know, say, some herbs or some plants are actually have medicinal properties, they burnt them, they got rid of them, right? Or people didn't know. I just thought of a great example. Like the celestial bodies, like the moon and the star. When people didn't know uh, what they actually are, like the sun or the moon and their phases, or they associated them with curses. They thought when I don't remember the word for that phenomena when moon covers the sun. I just Anyway, so I guess I think you guys got the point. So when moon covers the sun, and there's a term for it, scientific term for it, and the people thought gods were mad at them. Yeah, right. So they lacked the knowledge. They didn't know that it was just a natural phenomenon. Like it didn't symbolize anything really, right? So they made a big deal out of it. They made human sacrifices to please gods, right? So that fear came out of not knowing, lacking knowledge of astronomy, right? But now that we know these things, we don't have that fear anymore. So that knowledge is good because it's made our lives better. It's made our lives less scary and brighter. So people associate with brightness, light. And the other kind of knowledge is the bad knowledge, is the evil knowledge. It's the kind of knowledge that people use to hurt others. Like, yeah, that's a good example. How to make poison, you sell it. Or there's what they call witchcraft. And there's also kind of knowledge. Okay, these are some extreme examples. I can give you some basic examples, kind of knowledge we have on a day-to-day basis, but we don't share it with each other. Like, you see this interesting fact I brought up when we were shooting the podcast, like you should ask the guests if they like the room temperature. That's something I know. That's like good knowledge. And if I don't share it with you, right, it's not beneficial, really. It doesn't really become bad knowledge, but it becomes my fault not to be sharing, but it's not the same thing, I guess. So
But what about knowing how to sift people's money online? How to sift people's money, how to rob people online.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's a great that knowledge. Sharing it would be a mistake because it misleads them or further confuses them. It makes their world chaotic. So that's one of the reasons why people like use white lies. Like when someone is sick and they're soon dying, they don't need to know they're soon dying because it's just going to make the experience even worse. So you keep that knowledge to yourself. So, yeah. So good, bad, and the kind of knowledge you should keep to yourself.
Okay. Well, by the way, about trading, it's also coming out on trend these days. What's your attitude towards it? Towards trading, what do you think? Is it a right kind of stuff for people to follow? A lot of young children are going after that knowledge and they want to learn it, and they are losing. Some of them are losing lots of money, and they are investing in the business they are not aware of. And so, do you think this is a nice strategy for them to follow, or do you think instead of following such stuff, they should go for something else?
I can't really answer this question because I'm not educated enough to give you any valuable advice. So for one, I don't quite understand what trading is. I'm assuming I actually did study corporate finance when I was in university, where we talked about stocks and bonds, and I guess that's what this whole deal is about. As for this, like the specifics, I don't really know. I just know that people do it. I know that some people make a lot of money, some people lose a lot of money, and it's all I'm gonna say is, whatever you do, whatever decision you make sure you're are full aware of what you are getting yourself into, right? And that you're not being, like, say, scammed or taken for a ride. Have your wits about you. That's what I would tell people. As for whether it's a positive trend or a negative one, I can't comment on that because I've never been involved in trading. So, yeah. But I think it's, what do I think? No, I don't really think much about trading. No, I haven't done enough reading or research, my own research, to give you any educated answer here.
Okay, so what about self-study? Let's turn to our own topic. So, do you think it's possible for a person to learn a language without a teacher?
I mean, yeah, of course, it is possible. Just about, it's why is it impossible? If I'm not, this is not saying I support it. It's a personal choice. If you're someone who's comfortable, if you're someone better off learning alone, then go for it. I think with advanced level students, they don't need much guidance. In fact, being in a group environment stifles their progress. It means slows down their progress. But for newbies, like students who've just been introduced to English, they need a lot of guidance and correction. Correction, like, don't say this, say that, try this. And there's also a question of discipline. Like, can you stay disciplined enough to say, complete the whole test and do it day after day? If you think you can't, then go and find someone who helps you stay disciplined, gives you a structure to follow, and holds you accountable. So, yeah, it depends on factors like your level and your discipline, how disciplined you are, how disciplined you can stay.
Okay. When you started English for the first time, what was the most difficult part for you?
It wasn't really all right, here's my take on learning in general, not necessarily language learning. If you find something, not necessarily learning, if you find anything challenging to do, like, when I say challenging, I don't mean like a kind of hard, I mean painfully hard to learn or painfully hard to do, except with the exception of physical activities. It's simply an indication that you haven't made up your mind to do it. So what am I saying here? I'm saying that if you're totally convinced that you should be doing it and you actually want to do it, like, not like pretend to want to do it, but really want to do it, even if it's super hard, it feels easy. It feels easy. Like, imagine, so one example would be going to the gym, right? There are days when you want to go to the gym, there are days when you don't want to go to the gym. And on days when you don't want to go to the gym, lifting something as light as 5 kilos feels like lifting a truck. Right? But on days when you're excited about going to the gym, you can rep 100 kilos. You can lift pretty heavy stuff, right? Or get done 2 hours of rigorous workout, 2-hour rigorous workout, and feel nothing. So, and that, I think, holds true for learning as well. Like, if you find yourself struggling big time learning, say, 50 words or some grammar rules, memorizing them, you just haven't really, you don't really want to do it. You're just pretending to want to do it. So you got to find a way to trick yourself to like it, which is what I do. I know something needs to be done, and maybe I don't want it much, so I find ways to trick myself into doing it. Or I don't do it altogether. Like, if I don't want to do it, then why do it, right? Then don't do it altogether. But there are times, though, when you have to really force yourself to do it, right? And even if it's not the thing you want to be doing, and even if it's you're just pretending to do it. Like, there are times when I walk into the classroom and I don't feel like teaching, because I'm teaching this class millionth time. I've taught it so many times before, and it just feels a chore having to repeat myself all over again. but I suck it up and do it anyway because it's my job. And I think that's how it works in the adult world, right? No excuses. You don't get to complain. You just get the job done. So there are times when you need to understand that you lack just willingness and interest to get the job done, and that's why it feels hard. And there are times when you have to just suck it up and get it done, right?
Okay. Do you sometimes feel like you have run out of energy?
Quite often, not sometimes. If you're up in the morning and you just work nonstop, it's natural that you feel exhausted at the end of the day, but I don't like admitting that I'm tired. It's not in my vocabulary. I hate the word tired or exhausted, right? I'd rather die than say the word tired. So when I do, you just need to know when to pump the brakes and take a breather, just chill a bit, recharge. And I understand, like, we're not machines after all, and we do need some time off, but don't go overboard with it. Like don't do it excessively. Too much rest turns into comfort, and too much comfort is bad. I think it's not, well, bad is oversimplification. Too much comfort leads to mediocrity, like settling for average results. So whenever I find myself in that state of comfort, I just try to snap myself out of it by taking on a new challenge. Just I try to be like self-aware of your needs. Like right now, I need this. It's like the sensible thing to do. I need to rest so I can come back with new batteries, with more energy, and do much better job. Or be aware that you have had enough rest. Now it's time to get some job done. Time to get the job done. Time to get some work done. So, yeah. Yes, I do get tired. But no, I don't get tired. Yes, I did get tired. I did say it. I'm sorry. I did say it. I really was trying not. I'm a human after all. Like, I'm made of flesh like you. I'm not a ghost, right?
Well, as machines need time for cooling, and a person needs how many times have you taken ice?
How many times? I can give you, I think, a rough count. So first attempt was 6.5, second attempt was 7.5, and then I got 2 8s, so that's 4 attempts. And my fifth attempt, I got 8.5. So after that, so that was in, I think sometime October or November when I went to Tashkent to get my diploma. So that's 5. And can you actually help me count? Because I might lose track. So 5. And then, so I set the test again in January 2021, I guess. So
6.
So like after getting 8.5 in October or November 2021, my results have been 8.5 or above in all attempts. Like never 8. So in 2020, got my first 8.5, that's 5. And then January, another 8.5, May, another 8.5. And in June, was it June? That was July. On the day when I said the test on my dad's birthday, I got 8.5, half a point short of 9. That could have been my first 9. Yeah. In June 2022, we're talking about, way before 2023. And then I retook the test in October with British Council. I got 8.5 again, but that time I was 1 point short of 9. And then I retook it in December. I got 8.5, half a point short of 9 again. That's when I had my first 8.5 in writing. It kind of went viral too. It's like I was so close to getting 9. Second time, really close. And then in February, so I finally said the test and then appealed. I got my first 9. So that's 11.
11.
Is it 11?
11, yeah.
That's 11. Okay. That's 11. And then right after that, I got my second 9 with British Council. That's 12. That's the 12th attempt. And then this is when I got greedy. I really have to say it. I did get greedy when I got my second 9 because I thought I could just pull off another 9. Like nothing. I could just walk in and get another 9. I was delusional. So I signed up for the test and did it in June again, and I barely got an 8.5 after that, barely.
Really?
Yeah, because I was greedy. I was not that smart guy anymore. I got carried away, I guess, a little, and with all that publicity and too much attention, people put you on a pedestal when you do something incredible, and then after that 8.5, I felt beat up and wanted to do it again. I did it in August. I got another one. I actually did it in August twice and got consecutive 8.5. So that's, how many is it now? Are you counting?
15.
15? Okay, good. 15. So the 15. And then I did it in, so that was September. I did it in November again. That's 16. After November, I got another 8.5, short of half a point short of 9. I was after my third 9. And that's the point when I realized I had to stop it, because I was being greedy. That was the point when because I saw it as a sign. I was doing everything so perfectly. My interviews went great. Speaking interviews, I wrote the best essays I ever could in the test. And I can kind of objectively tell what level those essays are. And I was convinced I was going to pull off another 9, but it came up to 8.5, and I saw it as a sign. So I didn't need that at that point. So I took a break, but it was a short break, and set the test in January again. I got another 8.5, and then took a long break, came back in April and set the test again. I got 9, finally, third 9. And after that, I took another long break because we were working on our second campus, on launching this project. So then retook the test finally with British Council in November, I guess, and I got my fourth 9. So that's 19 attempts exactly. 19 attempts. Yeah, 19 attempts and 4 9s.
And when guys come to me and I say them, sometimes I suggest them to retake the test. They have, for example, 7.5 kind of these scores, and I suggest them to work again, and they say, well, that's enough. I have taken it once, it's enough. But they don't look at living examples of having 19 exam.
Well,
it's actually motivation to me as well, because I also had my test in 2022, I guess, and we had our speaking at the same time.
Oh, really? I remember
because Juraif said Mukhammadali came before you.
Oh, great.
And I just entered the test. I set the test after you in speaking. Well, it was my last, actually. And it's somehow motivation to me as well to take the test again. And
But I think students shouldn't really chase 9 unless they want to become a future teacher. It's actually wrong to tell them retake the test if their goal, say, to get into in-high university, where they need math and physics more than they need English. So it can be a waste of their resources.
But sometimes they want to be granted, they just want to go abroad and have bigger scholarships. But and most of the time they are just satisfied with small catch, they don't want to chase after bigger dreams. And if they had, for example, they would have bigger scholarships, but instead they just want to play it safe and keep away from taking further risks. And well, not all of them actually, but it happens sometimes. Well, I'm afraid of forgetting my next question. Well, actually, it might be a personal question. Is there anything that you regret of?
No. I try to live a regret-free life. Everything that happens in life happens for a reason, and I try to and even if things don't go, when things don't go my way, I try to find that reason. I try to sort of rationalize why things happened. Yeah. Well, there are situations when I could have done things differently, when I could have acted better, when I could have acted more graceful, more noble, I could have acted more sensible. And yes, probably those are the situations I regret, but not in a way where I want to go back and redo, but in a kind of learn my lesson way. Like it's a lesson to be learned kind of way, but not in a way that where I would want to redo things. No. No.
Okay. In one of your interviews, you said, "My way or no way." Is it your motto in life?
Really, I don't remember saying that. Which interview?
Yeah, actually, it was IDP the first time.
Oh, right, right.
In terms of students, well, and those lagging behind, there was a question I think given to you, like, what do you do with students who do not study well? And you said like, my way or no way.
Okay.
Is it your motto in life, or do you try to find out ways of dealing with those students who lag behind?
All right. First off, anyone watching this podcast, I wouldn't really recommend watching my old interviews because they really bad advice. Okay. At the time I was still young. I didn't know much. I lacked knowledge. I lacked competence. I lacked experience. I lacked a lot of things. I was inadequate in a lot of ways. And like many other people, I don't agree with the things I said. Much of the things, not much, but some of the things I said in the past. And that one is one of them, the thing you just brought up, because there's always a way. And if you've been watching my interviews, you must have heard me say there's more than one way to skin a cat. They have a saying in English. There's more than one way to skin a cat, which means there's more than one way to solve a problem. So if one doesn't work, you should try another one. I only part ways with a student, which rarely happens, when they break codes of conduct or our school guidelines. Like outside that, I try to be as helpful as I can. And one of the important lessons I've learned in my teaching experiences, not everyone is after the same thing. Not everyone has the same goals. Not everyone has the same values. Not everyone has the same principles. And I respect that. So, but there are some non-negotiables, like trying to get better, excel, setting high standards. And I try to hold our students to those standards too. But there are parts where, like say a student needs only 7.5 or 8 to get into university. I do push them, but if they still don't want it, at the end of the day, it's just their choice. And no matter how hard I push it, they just don't want it. So yeah, I just let them be. Do I just let them be to change their mind? Because I know they're gonna later on thank me for pushing them. But if it doesn't work out, I'm not gonna get mad at them. Or I'm not just gonna end our relationship because they didn't try as hard as they wanted me to do. So it's a game of finding compromise, I guess. But there are times when you should not settle for a compromise because you know what the right thing is, and they are misled, they're misguided. So you should help them see that way. And it's a bit of a tricky game. You're asking me how do I go about my relationships with students, right? It's very contextual. It's very personalized. It's very considerate and thoughtful and forward thinking. So I have a lot of points in mind when I'm dealing with students. So, and these are the things that I didn't know when I had that podcast with IDP. I lacked this knowledge. I lacked this experience. These things that I've learned over the past 2 years, ever since we had that podcast. Yeah. At the time, I think my main goal was to which I think we achieved successfully, was to get our school recognition. Like all I cared about was recognition. I want more eyeballs. That was my motto at the time. I want more eyeballs, like views. What's the view count? What's the view count on this? How can we get more views? And once we built that, we, but we were building. Actually, we were working on it alongside a bunch of other things, like, right. So, but I was a little bit too extreme in my ways, which I've thankfully changed.
Hopefully. Well, how do you think this recognition worked for you? Well, not in terms of business. Yeah, I know it has greatly impacted on your business, but in terms of freedom, don't you feel free, or don't you feel like you are being limited in terms of freedom when you go out in the street and when you just want to walk around without any kind of people's recognitions, you know? How do you feel about that? Or do you feel great when people come and say, like, show you, oh, look, he's Mukhammadali, he's the first liner?
So before, it used to make me feel super uncomfortable when people would come up and start asking questions, and other times I'd feel a little I'd feel excited is not the word for it. I don't want to use the word excited because it's not the word for it. I'd feel proud, like prideful, when someone came up and asked for a photo, which happened dozens of times, right? But and that's not really the right attitude, I think, to go about being a public figure or being in the spotlight, because it can just really knock you off your game. It can really be a distraction, right? You can the vanity is one of the deadly sins, and it's a surefire way to fall off the track. So and I had to develop sort of mechanisms to, when I say mechanisms, I mean like tools and mental frameworks, and through knowledge, learning and understanding and experience, to deal with this to newfound fame. And what I did was, I learned that there are levels to it, levels, like this fame thing. I might be considered famous, not actually famous, in a very small community, right? But in the bigger scale of things, I'm not as famous as Elon Musk, or I'm nowhere near as famous as Andrew Tate. I'm nowhere near as famous as Putin or Donald Trump, those politicians, right? So that kind of gives you a sense of peace and comfort. Like, you're not that important, right? So just get over it. Yeah. For a moment, you think you are, but you're really not. You're just another person. Even those people, they're just made of flesh, like us. Flesh. That means like meat. And then we have a lot in common, more in common than we think. So I would be honored to meet those individuals, but I wouldn't be like in complete awe, shock, right? Because like, after all, they're humans like us. So and understanding these things really helped me grapple with the anxiety and the pride that came with self-conceit, that came with being recognized in public.
Well, it's all about preparations. The questions are all about preparations, and I think you have taught everything about them. And I'm trying to generate questions more related to your personality and how a person should behave like. And students should understand why they need to have these top scores and how they will behave in the future once they have it, right? So do you think this fame, or this recognition or popularity, is more of a responsibility to you in front of your community? For example, now you cannot go out in the street and shout, right? Because you have become role model to many people. Do you think this also gives you somehow stress?
Um, that is that's a great question. I'm really glad you asked it because that's one of the things I was thinking just after, right after I answered your question about getting recognized in public. Yes, the, I've said it before. I'm just going to repeat it. Quotes, another quote. Yeah, you guys watched the movie Spider-Man? Uncle Ben.
Yeah, yeah.
On his
With great power comes great responsibility.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So, what is power? Let's break down the word power.
Mhm.
Power is the ability to influence the outcome of a situation,
Mm.
or is the ability to influence a person's life. And I can, I I'm very much conscious of the fact that I can influence the outcome of many people's lives, um, directly and indirectly.
Yes.
Directly and indirectly, and that is power. Maybe it's not. I don't wield as much power as a president who is in charge of a big country with millions of people, but I can impact the outcome of certain important situations, critical situations, and I'm very aware of that. I try to stay aware of that fact, and that, in some cases, makes a person feel important, a little cocky, too confident. In other instances, it makes a person feel. I'm not saying me because the way I feel is different from what I'm talking about, so I'm speaking generally. It makes a person feel responsible. In my case, I have both. Everyone does. There's like it's an interplay of good and evil inside, and you really have to do your part to make sure the good part outweighs the evil part. The evil part tells you you're important, you can just do whatever you want, or you can just get away with it scot-free, right? You can do that, you can do this. Other people can't. You're glamorous. You start glorifying yourself, like you're a god or something. That's the evil part. The good part tells you, no, you're assigned this power for a reason, and if you lose touch with that reason, that power is going to be taken away. And I understand that very much, and I'm very, very appreciative of the fact that I'm bestowed upon this power, and if I do something wrong or let the evil get the better of me, like it happens sometimes, sadly, that power is going to be taken away and given to someone more fitting, someone more deserving of that power. Yeah.
So, how do you get? How do you deal with the stress? Well, again, stress, and just. I mean, do you actually spend some time in recreational activities like playing games or kind of doing sports or just watching films? Do you have such like humane kind of
Human,
activities?
yeah, right. Yes, so I hit the gym 3 times a week. I try to hit the gym 3 times a week. I'm saying try because sometimes I end up skipping it because of work reasons. Only work though, like not for like a lazy, I'm feeling lazy kind of thing. Because if I skip the gym because I'm feeling lazy, I wouldn't be lazy. I wouldn't be able to live with myself. It's a breach of my personal code, personal rule. So I can't do that. So I do hit the gym 3 times a week. That helps a lot to blow off some steam. And the other thing I do is I try to get a good night's sleep. It's a great stress reliever. In fact, probably the best stress reliever.
Yeah,
It's like when your body releases melatonin hormone, sleep hormone, which is restorative in quality, and that really helps you rejuvenate at night. So I try to get like 8 to 9 hours of sleep every night. So sometimes 7, but try to keep it at 8, the healthy dose. The other thing I do is I like following the news, I guess. News I've lately been following, just the news headlines, usually U.S. politics or the world politics. I'm a curious person by nature, like, and really I really try to understand how like people in the people in people with more power, like politicians usually in this instance, act, and how they calculate their moves and how they present themselves to the public, and there are some great people I look up to intellectually and personality wise. So I try to learn from them. So I try to learning is a great way
So you
to relax.
you have your own role models, right?
Do I have a role model? Someone I'm modeling myself after? No, I simply have people I respect for possessing certain qualities,
I see.
which is not the same as having a role model where I want to be exactly like that person, because I can't be. No one can. My role model is me in 10 years from now, or me in 20 years from now, me in 30 years from now. Because I'm confident as long as I'm keep doing what I'm doing, that guy is going to be a lot better in just about everything than I am right now. Just like I can confidently say a lot better than the guy, the younger me 2 years ago, who was on that podcast. So yeah, there are people I respect for possessing certain qualities. For example, I respect Elon Musk for being very rational and calculated, because obviously he's an engineer, and what I admire about engineers is that they are builders. They know how to move things in a way that make things work, whether in nature or when building systems. And there are people like I respect Donald Trump too in a way because he's bold in his statements. I admire that, and he seemed to be a good guy, but I'm not sure if he's a good guy. I don't want to make any political statement here. I like Putin too. Like I watch his interviews in English and in Russian. The thing that really strikes me about him is his eloquency when he speaks. He's so well spoken and very, very well measured. When someone is well measured, like they've really thought things through, and that really fascinates me.
So that they have calculated in detail, everything in detail.
And maybe my fascination is simply because of the fact that I'm not yet intellectually there, like on their level. Obviously, they're a few decades older than me, and they've built more skills, they've learned more, they've read more history, right? They've been involved in more projects than I have. Maybe that's simply the reason. Maybe they're not that impressive after all. It really depends on where you are at in life. That's actually a telling sign of where you are in life. Like the people you're trying to catch up with and the problems you're after. And that's Elon Musk has in one of his interviews, he said something famously, tell me the size of your problem and I can tell you how successful you're going to be. Tell me the size.
The larger problem you have, the more success you attain in the future.
But
right?
this is not say like take on all the problems in the world. Right?
But actual problems must be enormous problems. For example, if you have taken loan from the bank, $3 billion, and the problem is big, it's never going to work actually. But still, what's your perspectives on traveling? What countries have you traveled so far?
I've traveled only to the U.S. I'm not a big fan of traveling. I'm not a travel buff. Traveling is something I'm going to do only out of a practical reason. I recently went to Tashkent for a medical reason. I needed the medical checkup. And that was me going to Tashkent for the first time in a couple of years. Not in a couple of years, maybe like a year and a half. So like, I'm not really big on vacations. I'm not really big on sightseeing. I'm not really big on exploring the world, which I've been told by one of my guests on the podcast is my biggest shortcoming as an individual. Like there's a whole world out there that I should go and see, and they're probably right. I just don't feel like it is the right time right now.
You said you are good at cooking.
Hmm. I'd like to think I am, but we really should put my cooking skills to the test.
Uh,
And
which food do you actually cook?
I mean, I think I can cook just about any food if I'm shown the recipe and how to
Uh,
do it. I seem to have a knack for it because I don't know if I can do it anymore because it's been a long time since I last cooked for myself because I've been so caught up with work. I said that because when I was in the US, I worked at a restaurant where I had multiple jobs. I worked as a cashier, I worked as a busboy, like the guy who cleans the desk, sorry, the table after people done eating. I worked as a server, someone who serves their food. I worked in the kitchen, meal prep, and actually being involved in cooking, only like simple things like frying and broiling. And I worked at a pizzeria where I made pizza, not only pizza dough. I don't get to say made pizza, only pizza dough. That's all I did.
Well, within 3 months, you have done so many jobs.
I got to try all these different jobs. One, because I wasn't happy with how much I was making. I started out as a bus boy, and I thought I'd be making a lot more if I got the server position. So I to go up position, you have to ask your manager, right? And I did. And they gave me obviously no as an answer. Probably they didn't have a vacancy at the time. Then I thought to myself, okay, if I show them how willing I am, how much I want this job, maybe they're going to give me a shot. So I told them, okay, give me any job, but not bussing the tables, right? And then they put me in the kitchen. All right, after some time, they put me at the cashier desk. And after some time, vacancy came up, I got the job, right? So like I was constantly trying to, yeah. And I didn't do any traveling, none, zero traveling when I was in the U.S. So I
Just
went there,
jump.
I went there, I landed when when we, I got off the plane when I arrived at the JFK airport. I I caught a bus to the island where I was staying on. I stayed there the entire summer and caught a flight back to the JFK airport, and from the JFK airport back to Tashkent. That was it.
Really?
That was it.
No visits to freedom
No,
stages.
I actually like the fact that I try to get a real taste of American life by doing little traveling, and you don't get to. I'm sorry, and you don't really get to get a real feel for American life if you are traveling, because you just see it as an outsider. But if you really want to see what their lives are like, you need to live like them. Go to work every day, talk to them every day. Like if a tourist were to come and did sightseeing, would they get a true idea of Bukhara life?
Yeah.
No, not really. They would if they came to work with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you say about American life in general? Do people have higher satisfaction from their lives than people
That is
here?
one of the big misconceptions. Yes, in a lot of ways, America is a more built-up country because obviously it's a first world country, and they have they have they have refined their system and built something truly admirable, and that's why people, I guess, are um, willing to pay. How much is it? $5 million to get a Trump gold card. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
No, there's no green
$1
card
billion
anymore.
for being
It's actually 5 million.
$5 million
Five million
for
dollars, and
being a resident of
not they don't give you citizenship right away, but it gives path to
yeah,
citizenship, right?
living permit.
Yeah, exactly. So you get that a document for $5 million, and there's a reason why people are willing to pay that much to go there because of the system, the opportunities, the market they've built, stock exchange market, and the investment possibilities, and all those opportunities, and the surprisingly high level of democracy. I'm saying that because like it's not in every country where you see reporters shouting at the president like that. That goes to show that how much people uh, exercise like free speech, and which is an important, I think, commodity at a certain point in life. Like I'm starting to realize it more than ever, especially after the situation I had with IDP and youth agency had, where they made a video and which was misleading. Like I felt the need to speak up. When even when people thought it was it might get me in trouble because I spoke about a public servant, about a politician, basically. Yeah, right. So these are the reasons why people, I think, would want to live in the U.S. because they simply don't have these privileges in their own country. But would I want to live in the U.S.? I mean, I don't see anything wrong. I mean, yes, our hometown, the city Bukhara, has a long way to go, right? I mean, I don't really know. For the time being, I see myself setting roots, firm roots in the city, like building a solid foundation. And I think I'm yet to build that foundation. And once I'm done doing that, maybe they consider going global, and not necessarily U.S. There are a lot of great countries in the world, like the UAE, United Arab Emirates, right? You got Japan. It's a great country. People love it. China. I've heard China has tidier and more calculated system than the U.S. Like how tidy and organized things are, if even though there's not much, freedom as to things you get to do. Like they have a social credit system where if you do something inappropriate, your credit goes down, and and you lose access to some facilities. Oh yeah.
In China.
Oh yeah.
I
Like
see.
like when you don't wear a mask in public back in
Mm.
COVID time,
Yeah.
your credit score would go down, and then that would deprive you of the ability to do certain things like
Uh,
uh, being
you will.
able to go to a hospital or maybe shop.
You
I
wouldn't
don't
go
know the
to.
specifics, but you do lose some privileges.
You are banned from swimming pool, for example.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I see. Um, well, Uzbek people have certain understanding about life. They live sacrificing themselves to their children or to their parents or to their loved ones. Um, do you think this is a nice trait of character?
I don't think it's a. I don't think it's a really a. I'm not sure if it's a cultural thing. You said Uzbek people. I don't, but I don't really think it's about our culture. It's a more of an individual thing. Like me, I'm not like dying to build a great future for my kids. Yes, I'm gonna do my best, but what's the point of creating a perfect world for our children in which they're they have they have no challenges. They don't really have anything to do. I wouldn't want that. I would want my kids to go through some hardships, some difficulties, to learn some important lessons about life. So I'm not like crazy about uh, building a mansion for my kids or making sure they all get cars. In fact, I would want them to use the bus for some time to get a taste of what is it like being an average person, like to go through those hardships, so they to grow up to be more appreciative of the things they have when they're old. So, or my parents, like I mean, I respect my parents and try to help them as much as I can. But sometimes when I see my mom doing the chores, I don't really feel the must urge, like feeling to go and help her, because I'm thinking to myself, well, she's getting some exercise. I mean, she's a teacher, right? She probably sits a lot. I mean, I understand she has a demanding job, but she I don't see her doing much in the way of physical exercise, which is important for her health as well, right? And there's also a certain aspect to her, to what she's doing, which is her motherly responsibility, which she probably takes pride in doing. Like for cooking for me, she probably feels proud of the fact that she's feeding me, and I let her do that. But if I went home and said, "Mom, I don't need anything from you. I'm well fed. I'm just gonna eat out," she probably would be upset. She probably think that my son doesn't like me anymore, or he doesn't like my cooking. So so
So, what was the next question? I was
take your
thinking.
time.
Uh, um, how many children do you have now?
I'm still bachelor.
Uh,
I'm still unmarried. Yeah.
well, are you planning
I'm planning
somehow in the
marriage. The answer to that, I can. Well,
27?
no, I'm not old. That I'm not that old. I'm still 25.
No, no,
I'm
no.
still
Are you waiting
25.
for 27, I say?
No, why 27? Is that like a? Is that like a? Well, I, th- well, I can. So this question, can we just pass? Can I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
pass it?
yeah. That's okay.
I
We
can.
can pass actually.
Yes, yes. I can neither confirm nor deny. I
We
can
can
neither.
skip the question
Yeah,
if
I
you
can
want,
neither confirm nor deny.
because it's interesting to
Wh-
many.
Well,
Because some people might want to be a candidate.
uh, I'm sure a lot of people would want to be a candidate, but it's
Occupied already,
is taken.
half taken.
No, like okay, here's the deal. When people say I want to marry some guy they see on social media, they don't actually realize what they're getting themselves into.
Uh,
You might actually hate me. You might actually dislike me so much because
mm,
I maybe work too much, or maybe I I'm I don't have as much fun as you want to have, you want to be
uh,
doing, right? So
mm,
I think marriage is a something you would. It's I don't really want to talk much about marriage because I like experience, obviously no experience at all. Yeah, almost zero experience. My take on marriage is it's very sacred. Yes, it's happening hopefully soon, but I don't know how soon.
inshallah, inshallah.
Yeah, yeah, God willing. But I it's something that needs to be coordinated. It's something that needs to be um
Negotiated.
negotiated. It's you just need to put work into it.
Uh,
It's a project of its own kind of. I And there are also aspects to marriage where you should be comfortable things happening on their own.
mm,
Like, for example, people spend a lot of time like looking for the perfect candidate,
no.
like with the exactly matching attributes, qualities, but there isn't one. All right, or they worry too much. What if our marriage doesn't work out? Well,
Mm,
you always have that prospect. You always have that possibility. And that's the whole point of marriage. Are you willing to start this? Are you willing to commit to that person, to the other person, having understood that it's not going to work out, that if it doesn't work out, there's going to be a lot of trauma, there's going to be a lot of a pain
mm,
on both sides, and that it's going to be mentally, physically, and sometimes not sometimes, often financially draining.
mm,
It's going to
yeah.
take up a lot of your finances too. So, are you comfortable taking all that risk? And you should be comfortable taking that risk. And yeah, that's I think what makes marriage such an it's yeah, that's the aspect you should keep in mind when looking for a partner is that you don't have to be a perfect match.
Mm,
In fact, I I would I would prefer to marry someone who's my complete opposite so they complement me. Like
mm,
if I talk little, I'd want them to talk a lot. So I can just sit and listen.
uh,
Or if I well, there are actually some criteria I have for my uh, future partner.
listen
One,
up, girls.
uh, okay, one, they can't be an English teacher.
Ah,
You can't have like two English teacher. That's like that'd be I don't know.
a lot of arguments.
I mean, with me, it doesn't work out because I'd get bored. I'd just get bored
Uh,
because when I'm home, I'd want to hear different stories.
uh,
I wouldn't want to hear more student stories because I'm
uh,
hearing enough at work. I
uh,
would for sure not want to marry an English teacher. So, sorry for disappointing all English teachers out there. And I would want them to be able to speak several languages. And in fact, I'd want them to be excellent in Russian. So our kids grow up being able to speak both Russian and English, hopefully.
mm-hmm,
And I'd want them to be able to drive. That's that's
mm,
that's a non-negotiable because when I'm away at work, I would want them to, drive our kids around, to, drop them off at school, pick them up, and do the groceries
mm-hmm.
when I don't have time for groceries. So yeah, if
Yeah.
if you tick all these boxes,
There are lots of great opportunities for you. the
Uh-huh.
candidates, but
No,
not
no, not
teachers.
really. Okay,
But
not really,
not
not really.
teachers
For
actually.
now, I'm not. Can we just can we skip this part? I feel super uncomfortable talking about
Well,
it.
but I'm sorry for teachers that are trying hard to have a car actually to take their children around.
Uh-huh.
But the car point is actually, painful. This is a chance a lot of girls chase after. My wife, for example, even cannot dream about having a car
Why not?
because I don't know. I think it's me who should be the driving actually, and well, even if I'm doing my job, and if my children need to be taken somewhere, I just go and take them to the place. Uh,
Is that because you have like a? It's like a. Are you against
no, no,
your
no, no, no.
wife
I'm
driving?
perfectly okay with women driving cars, but I'm a bit curious about safety stuff
I mean,
because
there's always question of safety. I mean, if you think about it, there's a question of safety when you're driving. When I'm driving, yes, yes, you think men tend to be careful, but there are a lot of women drivers out there who actually drive better than men.
but I know my wife.
uh,
I know my wife how careless she is.
well, I think no matter how like um, well, I'm not encouraging you to get your wife a car and driver's license, but I think with enough experience, anyone can get
Yeah,
the hang of driving.
yeah.
In fact, I've made the point that driving is easier than riding a bicycle. That's what
Well, she doesn't.
the other day my mom was asking, like, it's going to be hard if I want to get a driver's license. And I told her, no, it's easier than driving. It's riding a bike is a lot easier than driving a car.
Mm.
Because like
Vice versa.
when you're riding a bike, you need to balance,
Mm.
and not everyone can do balance.
Uh,
But when driving,
you don't have
just
balance.
we just start the car and turn 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 in the right gear and
Mm.
just hit the road.
Mm. Control the ball.
Yeah, and like 80% of the time I'm driving, I'm I'm on autopilot mode. You must be
Mm.
on autopilot mode too. 80% of the time
Mm.
you're driving, you don't even think.
Mm.
So and it's about getting to that level. And if you can help the other person get to that level too,
Mm.
then he should be fine with women driving, my wife driving, my future wife. Like if my like potential spouse didn't have the skill, the quality, the skill of driving, I think they actually do because I have some candidates in mind and they probably just like experience. I would just help them for
Mm.
like for a few weeks or a few months. We'd
Mm.
do like I'd have them have guided driving sessions where I'd just sit by their side and
Mm-hmm.
watch them drive.
That's
Yeah.
great. Okay. Are you planning to stay in Bukhara or do you have some plans about moving away somewhere?
Like I said earlier, for now my focus is like setting roots in the city,
Mm-hmm.
and but yeah, eventually I'm gonna be going global, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know like when that happens. When I say global, like not just like one country, but not like travel around the world kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because like running a business, and not just running a business, just this. I think life in general is about growth. It's about
Mm-hmm.
constant growth. So
Mm-hmm.
once we become really established locally, it's going to be logical, sensible for us to move global.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't know when that time comes. And I'm not sure if that time will ever come. But yeah, it's on the agenda.
Mm-hmm. If a new opportunity arises
Mm-hmm.
or new challenges will
Yeah,
start
yeah,
calling
for
you,
sure.
so you'll take it up, right?
100%. Yes, sir.
I see. I see. Did you like the time you
I
spent?
loved it. It was awesome talking today on the podcast, and I'm really appreciative of you for giving me this opportunity to come and reflect on my past, my life, and for on this great amazing set and people behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And I apologize sincerely for running hour late. Yes, I was hour late to this podcast, but
No, that's
uh,
okay. That's okay.
thankfully, Mr. Talib welcomed me here with open
Mm.
arms, and he was not angry at all. Hope you weren't angry.
No, no, no. Nah, that
Yeah,
that was okay
I,
actually.
I I really appreciate that. It means a lot
Mhm.
to me. So yeah,
Problems always might happen to anyone,
yeah.
and so dear watchers, I hope you have enjoyed the video with my friend Muhammad Ali,
Hmm.
who has had great influence to most of your lives, and hope this video has uh, impact on you to a certain extent and will motivate you in certain fields. And stay with us, follow Adastra and Farabi School social media platforms. So I hope that will all be helpful to you. Good luck.